So I get asked quite frequently how to do an everyday neutral look for work, for school, or just daytime festivities. Not only am I going to show you my daytime look, I'm going to show you how to do it with minimal products. I'm going to show you how to do it with the most effectiveness so you can get it done quickly and efficiently and still make it look nice. And not only am I going to do all that, but I'm going to show you how you can bump this up and turn it into a nighttime look, whether you're going out for coffee with your girls, you're going out to the club, or you just have somewhere special to go and you don't have time to just completely change your makeup around. And this is just a fun way to just bump it from daytime to nighttime. So let's get right into the look. So first, as you can see, I have my clean face, and then on top of that, I moisturize. Even if you have oily skin, make sure you moisturize. This is MAC's Oil Control Lotion. So this is just gonna work to help mattify my skin throughout the day and control the shine, which I don't like, at least not in certain places. And then on top of that, I prime my skin. This is MAC's Prep and Prime Face Protect with SPF 50. I like to work on my face from pretty much the eyebrows down, or somewhere along the lines of that. So I'm going to go ahead and do my brows, and then I'm going to zoom in and show you guys the eye look. And I already have a brow video too, so if you want to see how I'm going to do my brows, go ahead and pause this video, go see my brow video, and then come back. I wanted to explain this following step on camera so you can see the significance in it, how I'm going to be using it later. So I'm taking my Studio Finish Concealer, and the color is NW40. And this is just a tad, like one shade lighter than my own complexion. And then I'm going to take my 249 flat shader brush. This is my favorite brush to use for brows, and you'll see that in my brow video. But anyways, the reason why I'm using something that's just a shade lighter than my natural skin tone is I'm using it as a brow bone highlighter. And basically it just saves us the step of using an eyeshadow as a highlighter. So if you want to put an eyeshadow on top of this later on, you can. So all I'm doing is just right under the brow. I'm using it not only to shape in that brow, but it's also being used as my brow bone highlighter. See how it's a tad bit lighter than my complexion? And then I just blend downward with the brush and into almost like that bridge of my nose area. I'm going to go with my foundation shade. This is the Studio Finish Concealer, and the color is NW45. And this is going to be the color that I use to trace the top of my brow. So now our brows are ready and open for business. Next, I'm going to go back with my concealer once again. We're going to use NW45. Once again, this is my complexion shade. It's not a highlighter, it's my actual shade. And what I like to do to prep my lids for putting on shadows is I put a little bit of concealer on my lid prior to. I'm using this to prime the eye, and basically that mutes out any discoloration that's in the eye, and you just get a perfectly even canvas to work with, and those shadows last longer. And when I tell you a little bit goes a long way, I mean that in the most sincerest way possible. So there we got a zoomed in version of my left eye. Next, we're going to go right into applying our base. Now, depending on the day, depending on the professional environment I'm in, it's going to determine what base that you're going to use. Since we're going to be using fairly neutral tones, I'm going to either use, well, I go back and forth between using Groundwork Paint Pot, which is basically like a neutral, slight, very almost metallic finish to it, but not too much. Or I'll use Indian Wood if I'm feeling a little bit more fun, summery, flirty, or if I'm not in an office environment that would permit for something a little bit more colorful like that. Indian Wood is just a nice, really pretty gold base that I would use. I'm going to go ahead and just use Groundwork for today. I'm going to go for something a little bit more neutral. I'm going to take a little bit with my finger, and this is going to go directly onto my eyelid, and you can also spread this into your crease, since whatever base color that you're using should be pretty neutral to your complexion. It shouldn't be anything like blue or red or yellow. It should be something pretty neutral. So if you've got Painterly, use your Painterly for this step. If you've got soft ochre, use that. Whatever is neutral to your complexion, or whatever other base of choice that you like using. So So there you have it. Very little color impact. It's just a base, nothing special about it, nothing at all. So since we already have somewhat of a highlight color placed up there, just to kind of save time and effort, I'm going to take Margin Blush by MAC, which is kind of like a peach tone shimmer. I'm going to use my 252 brush, apply that in my brow bone. That's going to be our little highlight cheater. Just for a little added shimmer. Nothing special. I'm also going to take that margin and apply that right on my lid. I'm going to take my contour color of choice. This is Shadowy by MAC. This is their Contouring Pro tool. So you would have to buy this at a MAC Pro store, but this is their Contour Pro powder. I'm going to apply that shadow into my crease area, and this is going to be working as my crease color. So this is the perfect example, because I'm going to be using these blushes later. So this is like the perfect example of maximizing the use of our products. Using it as eyeshadows, using them as blushes, as highlights, contouring. Just, I mean, all you really need is like your 4 basic colors and you're good to go. And that's, you know, the purpose of having an everyday look. This is easy for every single day. Take any black matte eyeshadow of choice, and this step is optional, but I'm going to be using Bulletproof by Sugar Pill. You can also use Carbon by MAC or whatever black eyeshadow of choice that you have. And very, very sparingly, I'm going to apply this on my outer V, just for a little added dimension to the eye. And I'm using my 222 brush for this step. And I'm blending that into my crease, well into the middle area there, into my outer V. And if you need to, you can go back and re-blend out with those crease colors, that brown, just to kind of tone down the black and not make it look so dark and harsh. Just so it's getting a little even, you know, a little sprinkle of color on that bottom lash line. I'm using a creamy peach colored eyeliner for this step. This is NW25 NC30. This is the Chromographic Pencils. This is by MAC. And the reason why I'm using this off-white beige color is it's the same effect as using Fascinating if you're more fair tone. Because I'm a little bit darker, I'm not really a fan of using Fascinating, especially not for everyday look on my complexion, simply because it's just not the same effect. So I'm going to add this into my waterline. And it's going to open up the eye and definitely make you look a little bit more polished. Next, I'm going to add liquid liner. This is probably one of my favorite steps because since the eye look is so simple, I tend to make sure that I really put in the extra effort to do the eyeliner because that's pretty much going to be our attention getter for this look. So I usually start somewhere in the middle. And then I close up the inside towards the bridge of my nose. I usually do that part first. And I thicken it as I get to the outer area. So there's your liner. Then I add mascara. I usually don't wear lashes on a daily basis, so this is just gonna go straight into mascara. And I'm using Maybelline's Lash Stiletto. I'm also a fan of their Great Lash Mascara, so whatever you choose or your mascara of choice, you can go ahead and do that now. And there is our very simple everyday wearable eye look. Okay, now that we're zoomed out, I'm going to show you, there we go. Now that we're zoomed out, I'm going to show you my foundation routine, which is fairly simple from what I do on a daily basis. I'm using MAC's Studio Fix Fluid. Shade is NW45. And on a daily basis, I really don't use this as a full coverage. I kind of use it as a medium coverage. So I'm using my 187 brush, stippling it all over from the eyes down, and then I just blend it out. By the way, I had the pump changed so that it pumps out instead of the regular bottle, if you're wondering they changed their bottle recently. No, they did not. I just had the pump changed. And you can get those at MAC stores, for those of you that don't know that. So I make sure that this is well blended even into my neck, along the bottom of my face and into my neck. Next, I apply concealer. This is MAC Select Cover Up, and the color is NW40. And I'm using this as a highlighter, so you'll notice that it is lighter than my complexion, and I'm applying this well into my cheekbones so that it kind of gives that highlighting effect. And it just, you know, is less work for us later on when we're trying to use blushes to highlight, and it just kind of illuminates those highlight blushes that we're going to be using later. I use a 224 to really get under the eyes with the concealer. And then I blend it out with my cheekbones. I'm using MAC's Prep and Prime Translucent Powder under the eyes to keep that concealer from creasing. A little bit goes a long way if you're about my complexion. Still working with my 224 brush, and I applied just a teeniest bit, and I'm going to work that under the eyes. And that just helps it last longer and prevents creasing later. I'm using MAC's Mineralized Skin Finish in Deep Dark. This is going to be help used to set that foundation. And I'm working with my 187 brush. And I'm just very lightly going around my face. And I'm going around the edges of where I apply that concealer. Very, very important, so that there's an even transition of color. So it's not just light to dark, light to dark. You want like a transition. So that powder is helping kind of create that faded effect. Just do it around the concealer, and it helps it blend into your skin a little bit better. Also applying a little bit on my forehead, and notice I'm kind of brushing, sweeping it sparingly. It's just a little added security on that foundation. On top of that, going back to my MAC transparent powder, the Prep and Prime one, I love this powder simply because here's the lid to it. I love this powder simply because it works amazing as a blot powder. So I make sure that whenever I do wear makeup, I use this every day to set my makeup. And I'm still working with my 187 brush, and you can see just how little I used, because if you use too much, it will show if you are darker, just like me. So I just take a little bit of that around my forehead and bridge into my nose area, my T-zone. A little bit of this stuff goes a long way. You don't want to like chunk it up like that. And if you do, all you have to do is just dust it off into your lid. And this is really going to help us stay shine free throughout the day. And the great thing about it is you can also use it as a blot powder. So keep that in your purse with a little travel brush. And when you do start to get a little oily, you can blot with this powder. And I swear it looks like like your makeup was just like new, like you just put it on. I live for this stuff. It works amazing. So there you go. Our powder is pretty much set. Next, I'm going to go ahead and contour. You can use your contour brush of choice. My favorite is the 109, which looks like this. It's very short. It has a rounded head, and it's kind of like a buffer. You can use that. That's another choice. I'm going to be using the 169 today. I'm going back to that shadowy powder we used earlier. And this is basically just going to create the effect that we have, more sculpted cheekbones. Everyone will contour differently according to their face shape, according to how they want their face to be shaped. For my everyday blush, I usually either use Raisin by MAC. As you can see, it's time for a new one. Amber and Rose. Or Format, depending on the mood, depending on how I want it to look, depending on a lot of things. I think today I'm going to go ahead and use Format, and it's going to give me kind of like a more natural bronzed out look. Definitely an everyday wearable blush. And I usually apply that from the apples into my cheekbones. I like that old-fashioned style of applying blush. I always have, and I always will. I don't care if people call it outdated, whatever. I'm going to go back with my margin. This is going to be my cheekbone highlight. And I'm applying this just on the high points of my cheekbones, and I usually don't extend it past my eye area. So pretty much right in this area. A little bit goes a long way. Next, for my lips, I usually try to stay either nude to nude pink. And the reason why I pick nude to nude pink is because nude can be so nude. The face is already pretty simple. It's nice to have a little bit of color, especially in the office environment. It makes you look like you cared. It makes you look refreshed. Various different reasons. So first I'm going to outline my lips with a soft brown liner. This is Cork by MAC. You can also use Chestnut, but Chestnut is more of a darker when you want a more contoured look. So I'm just going to use Cork today. Or take your finger and blend it out just to kind of smooth out the harsh lines. And there's your lip liner. You're probably not going to see much of it from there. Next, I'm going to use one of my new favorite everyday nude pinks for women of color. I know, long title. But anyways, this is Modesty by MAC. I discovered this. Just randomly picked this up and decided to try it like a month ago. And I love it. And I just think it's the cutest everyday wearable pink. Now it is very much so unlike me to just do lipstick and liner. So on top of that, I'm going to use pretty much the gloss version of Modesty. As you can see, they look almost exactly the same. This is Viva Glam 5 by MAC. And there we have it, our everyday wearable look. Keep watching to learn how we're gonna take this and bump this up to a nighttime wearable diva look. Okay, so you wanna bump your look up to nighttime. Let's say you just got off work, probably a little bit oily, a little shiny in some places. We're definitely going to have some fun with this one, okay? So this step is going to vary based on what your taste is, how you like your makeup to look. You can either choose to play up the eyes, you can choose to play up the lips, you can choose to play up the cheeks, or both. It just depends on what your preference is. For this particular look, I'm gonna do a little bit of both. So first I'm gonna start off with the eyes. So as you can see, we have that very, very neutral eye that we did earlier. And we're gonna have some fun with this one. I'm going to take my NYX Jumbo pencil, and this is Black Bean, any black base of choice. And basically we're just gonna pretend like that eye look doesn't exist. And on the outer V, I'm gonna add a little bit of that, just a little bit, and basically on the outer corner. And then smooth it out. On top of where we applied that NYX, I'm gonna go back in with my Bulletproof eyeshadow by Sugar Pill. And my 222 or whatever blending brush of choice that you may have. And I'm going to apply the black eyeshadow on top of that so we get an added smoky effect. And also into our outer V. And into the crease, just a little bit. I'm also going to take a little bit of that Bulletproof with my pencil brush along my bottom lash line to get a more smoked out effect. So now we definitely have a little bit more of a smokier eye, and it looks a little bit more nighttime friendly. I'm going to use a highlight color this time simply because we want a little bit more added drama to the look. So I'm going to use my favorite Rice Paper by MAC. I'm applying that just in my brow bone area. A little bit goes a long way. I'm going to be using a crease color. This is Texture by MAC, or basically any color that's like true to your complexion. So basically you want it to look like fairly neutral on your skin tone. And around the edges of where we applied that black, I'm just going to blend it out just so that it doesn't look too harsh. I'm going to be using a black kohl liner. This is Feline by MAC. I'm going to be applying that into my waterline, and that's going to go over where we applied that cream liner earlier. And this is going to definitely give us a more darker, sexier look. And I'm also going to add that well into my upper lash line so that it looks a little bit more sculpted. Definitely want to bump this up by adding some lashes. I'm using number 48 lashes that I got from Nigel's Beauty Emporium in North Hollywood. They're actually quite similar to MAC's 36s, so whatever lash of choice that you want to use, you're more than welcome. This is just for a little added drama. And we're definitely trying to make a little bit more of a statement. We don't want to look like we're going to work, okay? I also went ahead and put another layer of black liquid liner on top of the lashes so that it all kind of matches up a little bit more even. Sometimes the lash line kind of overpowers the black liquid liner. In this next step, I'm also going to be changing my blush color and to match my lip color. This can all depending on what color handbag you're wearing. You can pick your lip color to match your shoes. You can pick your lip color to match jewelry you're wearing. So this will all vary depending on what you're wearing or what look you're going for. I'm going to take a makeup remover wipe. And depending on how rough your day was, because you shouldn't have any more lip color on by this time, I'm going to remove the lip color I had on earlier. And I'm going to be doing a bright pink fuchsia lip tonight. So with that being said, I'm obviously going to want to have a blush that's going to kind of complement that a little bit more. So we have that format on earlier. And a great way that I like to switch blushes is I take my powder of choice, which was the deep dark that we used earlier. I take a little bit on my 187 brush, and just on the apples of my cheekbones, I just lightly go over and mute out any of that color. You can also use a little bit of transparent finishing powder, whatever you've got on hand. I'm sure either or will work. I'm going to use Dolly Mix Blush by MAC, which is more of a bright, but it's kind of everyday wearable fuchsia pink. And onto the apples of my cheeks, I'm applying this color. And then I'm applying that margin again, just a little bit as my highlight. As stated earlier, I'm going for a bright pink lip. So I'm going to outline, or actually I should kind of say inline, basically the inside of my lips. I'm using Magenta Lip Liner by MAC. Around that, I'm using Vino by MAC, which is a little bit of a deeper eggplant looking color. And this is going to go around that magenta for a little bit more added contour, as you can see. Now this is a limited color, but it's one of my favorite, at least on my complexion. It's one of my favorite fuchsia lip colors. This is Petals and Peacocks by MAC. And this was from the, when I figure out the name of the collection, I'll let you know. And then I went for a fuchsia gloss on top. This is Loud and Lovely Cream Sheen Gloss by MAC. And I like this one because it has, I like the cream sheens in general because they have a more creamier consistency. Blend out with the finger as needed, if necessary. If you're experiencing a little shine, you can go back with that Prep and Prime translucent powder that I was telling you about earlier around your T-zone. Whatever your shine concern areas are, you can definitely go back and do that. And put on your favorite dress, your favorite earrings, your favorite jewelry, your favorite handbag, and your favorite pair of shoes, and knock them dead. Thanks for watching, guys.